He's one of the best and best-known professional sports trainers in Southern California. Todd Norman has trained thousands of athletes from all over the country. Today, Todd sits down to discuss sports training, nutrition, and a great deal more. If you're in sports or have a child in sports, you'll find it invaluable information. I'm Paul Higgins. This is Coach's Corner, and it all starts right now. Hello everybody, I'm Paul Higgins and welcome once again to the shops in Mission Viejo. This is Coach's Corner. So glad to have you, and as you can see in the beginning of the show, we have a fantastic show for you. And this is, of course, as we talked about it already, Todd Norman from Cutting Edge Sports Training. And I've known Todd for quite so many years. Back when he was playing football at Tribuco Hills High School, I actually covered him back then. And Todd went on to play at Saddleback for 2 years and then Nevada Reno before he went and got umpteen degrees in what he does, sports training. So Todd, welcome. It's good to see you. And you and I haven't seen each other in a little while. You look great, man.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, you got to stay in shape for what I do, right?
You know, I was thinking about, I went out and I changed my clothes because we do shows in consecutive shows in one particular day. And I said, you know what, if I'm going to go to a trainer, I want to make sure that trainer looks good and you look good.
Yeah, well, hey, you're looking great too, so good job.
So you feel good? Tell me what's been going on, because you have a busy life. You and I were just talking about, of course, you trained Mark Sanchez, since he was in high school. You still have that relationship with him. You've been to India, you've been to Brazil, you're training UFC fighters. I don't know when you sleep, drink, or eat, because you're always training somebody.
Yeah, that's pretty much the situation. You know, I have a pretty busy life. You know, I manage my gym, and I'm training athletes all day long. And, you know, I got to expend a lot of energy. I got to give everything of myself to every one of my clients each and every session. So, you know, I come home at the end of the day, you know, pop off my shoes, and I just, you know, can't move until I wake up and go right back to the grind. But, you know, the good thing is that after 17 years, I still absolutely love what I do. Yeah. You know, and there's a lot of rewards in what I do. You know, I feel like I've changed a lot of lives. I've helped benefit a lot of athletes' careers over the years. And, you know, at the end of the day, I feel really good about it.
And you talk about, you know, the relationship that you and I have had over the years when I first started covering you in sports, and then it became a friendship, and then clients. We were clients of each other in that aspect, and we would always do what's called the drill of the week. And Todd would come out, and we'd go to his gym, and he would do a drill of the week. Todd, I learned more from those drills of the week, and I know that's the way you train. You teach to me before you train. Tell me about that. Is that somewhat of a philosophy? In the sense that you teach your athletes about training and how to do it correctly, and nutrition, and how to do it correctly, is basically.
Yeah, and to go back to Cutting Edge Drill of the Week, you know, that was actually before the internet was really popular. So I think that was really popular because there was really no place that people were seeing that kind of stuff going on. And when Cutting Edge Drill of the Week came out around here, everybody was like, wow, can't believe the stuff you're doing with those athletes. And yeah, educating my clients and my athletes is something it's a necessity for what I do, because, you know, when you're working with guys that are making millions of dollars and their careers are on the line, every single thing you do has to be justified. And, you know, that's where my education and my experience comes into play. You know, if I'm having someone do a certain strength exercise or a certain conditioning drill, it's got to be specific to their sport, it's got to be specific to their position, and they got to understand what they're working. If they don't understand the muscle groups they're working or the energy system they're working, they only get about half of the result. Right. But when you're really in tune with your body and you're understanding what the trainer is having you do, then it takes your training to a whole nother level.
You did not reach out to me. I reached out to you because I wanted to have you back on the show. When you do reach out to athletes, what do you tell them about your training style? I know you get a lot of referrals, but I'm sure people come in and kind of quiz you. So what are you going to do for me?
Yeah, I usually try to figure out what it is that they need first. You know, a lot of times people just give general recommendations as to what someone should do for speed training or strength training, but, you know, every athlete's different, and some athletes need to gain strength, some need to gain speed, some need to put on more just upper body strength, or some need to build up their legs. Usually with the young kids, you know, it's more about establishing body control and connection, and working on the foot speed and coordination. But, you know, when an athlete does contact me, I find out what they need, and then I go right into what I feel they need to do. And being that I've trained so many athletes over the years, I kind of feel like at this point I can train anyone. Right.
Right.
you know, for anything.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you about that because, you know, when I first met you, you were doing a lot of football, you're doing a lot of baseball, basketball, but now you're doing the gamut of everything. You're training UFC fighters. Is there a particular sport that's harder to train somebody in as opposed to another sport?
Well, I know when I train UFC fighters, I got to watch out for getting punched in the face if I train them too hard. So that could be a little intimidating sometimes. But yeah, I mean, you know, I've worked with great fighters like Anderson Silva and Antonio Nogueira, Vanderlei Silva, Shogun. Currently training Mark Munoz right now, who's you know, maybe one fight away from a middleweight title bout, and Jake Ellenberger. And you know, when I'm training those guys, you know, you're working with people that go in and they fight for a living.
Yeah.
And you know, the conditioning I do with them can help determine whether they get knocked out or not. So the training is very intense. I have to get in the mix with them a lot of time, do a lot of manual resisted training that simulates fight-specific situations. And so, you know, from a danger aspect, I would say that's more dangerous.
Can I ask you this question? Yeah. I'm curious because, say for instance, you were, you know, I'm not going to tell how old you are because you look 25. If you were 25 and you were training these UFC guys, would there be a little click going on in your head saying, maybe I want to try this UFC stuff?
Absolutely. I mean, I've thought about it a lot of times. You know, I actually have a second degree black belt in Kempo Karate. And when I was studying for that, there was no MMA. And at first when MMA came out, I was kind of like, wow, like how can these guys do that? But now that I've been around it so much and I realize how much of a sport it's actually become, it's more than just fighting. You know, there's a lot of technique involved, and I would love to do jiu-jitsu and you know, kickboxing and Muay Thai and stuff like that. But, you know, unfortunately, my body's kind of beat down from all the years of training athletes. And that's really what I think God put me here on this planet for, is to help these guys versus be one of them.
You're a great teacher of it, and you always have been. And I know we could do a whole show on nutrition, and we're going to get to a break here in just a second, but I want to keep that, you know, you thinking about the nutrition side of it, because what I've eaten today is nothing that you would eat, and I'm not going to share that with you, but it hasn't been good. But that's really important. And I also want to talk about the young athletes and what you're doing with the young athletes and training those athletes. So I know you've been really busy, and I know I got to ask you one question before I let you, we go to the next segment. What do you remember most about your days at Trabuco Hills High School here in the city of Mission Viejo?
Well, you know, we won the CIF championship when my senior year at Trabuco, and we were the first four-year class. Dave Lowry, one of my best friends, was the quarterback, and he led the county in passing. You know, single season set the record, and it was just a real magical time for us because Coach Barnett, Jim Barnett, was the coach, and we were the new school in town. At that time, it was all about El Toro and Capo and Mission Viejo, and we kind of just came onto the scene, won the CIF championship, and everybody thought it was a fluke, and you know, but it was a real special time at Trabuco Hills.
It was good times. I remember that like it was yesterday. And I believe David Lowry went down to San Diego State and did some pretty special things.
Marshall Falk was his running back, and that's kind of where that all started.
Not a bad deal. We'll have more with Todd Norman. Of course, he is the best trainer that I have ever come across. I will tell you that flat out. And I've interviewed a lot of trainers and been around a lot of trainers. He does an exceptional job. More with Todd right after this.